Welcome to Unclouded Eye. I'm Ashley Brooks.
And I'm Ty Gowan.
And we are your source for astrological forecasts and cosmic chit-chat.
And we need to talk about the cosmic chit-chat this week a little bit because we left something open-ended last week that I need to dive deeper on.
Yeah.
It's the fish dreams, Ash.
Yeah.
So you were telling me that you have a recurring dream where you find a secret room. In the room are fish tanks. When you were younger, the fish tanks used to be dirty and the fish were dying. Now the fish are thriving, but the dream remains recurrent.
Yeah, and that like the whole thing is that they've been like neglected. I've forgotten about this room. I've forgotten that I have these fish tanks that I'm supposed to care for.
So again, I think there's so much psychologically that we could pull out of there, but that's not even the most fascinating part. What got me is the fact that you said our friend and her mother have had similar dreams too.
Yeah.
Which led you to look up more about this?
Yeah.
Tell me what you've discovered since we started pulling this thread.
I Googled dreaming of dirty or neglected aquariums and got so much. There's so many Reddit threads about
what is happening.
So a lot of the people that are having these dreams are fish keepers, which I am. I have aquariums.
Right. Okay.
But I didn't always when I was having these dreams, and a lot of the people that have them aren't. Some people do have these with other pets, like they'll have guinea pigs or something in their dreams instead. But basically the idea is a hidden or neglected, enclosed animal that you're supposed to be caring for that you haven't been. So I kind of dove into the symbolism and the dream interpretation. Now, dream interpretation is definitely a very personal thing because everyone's idea of symbolism and like what that means to them is going to be different. But there are some kind of like archetypal things that we could look into.
Common threads, right?
Yeah. So symbolism of a dirty aquarium. So I'm on myradream.com. So
the source.
Shout out Myra.
Yeah.
So Myra says an aquarium represents a contained environment. And when you have water in it, it's associated with emotions because water governs emotions. It can also govern relationships. When the aquarium in your dream is dirty or neglected, it may indicate that there are unresolved issues or neglected aspects of your life that require attention. So it could be negative emotions. If the tank is very dirty, it could be anger, sadness, frustration that have been accumulating over time you haven't been dealing with, which is definitely maybe true in my younger years. I would definitely bottle stuff up more.
You need that psychic filter fish.
Yes, I need to strengthen my filter. So now I guess the tanks are cleaner, but so that it's like working itself out, but it could mean that there's a sense of neglect or lack of attention to certain areas of your life. Could be related to personal goals. The dream is urging you to pay attention to these neglected areas and take steps to rectify them. So now there's less accumulated in these tanks, but it's still like a reminder maybe something's getting neglected.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Will you let me know the next time you have one?
Yeah, it's been a little while since I've had one. I have them maybe a few times a year, so it's not
a year.
Yeah.
I was thinking let me know next time, next year or two when I want to have. No, but that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because it will be different in terms of where I'm at. One of the common ones will be at my grandmother's house. I'll find this hidden room between two bedrooms that's never there, and there's fish tanks in there.
Well, now that's interesting for me because I don't have a recurring dream. I have a recurring theme, and the only recurring theme I've ever had in a dream is that I wake up at my grandmother's house, which is one of my favorite places to be in the world.
Yes,
and I know a nightmare is coming.
Oh no.
Yeah. So it's like my subconscious goes to the happiest place that I've ever been.
To kind of shield you from the darkness.
Or I would like to think that it's almost like it superimposes extra darkness. Like you put something creepy in some place holy for me.
Oh yeah.
So that it gets bad when I'm at my grandmother's house.
It's funny because I dream about my grandparents' house a lot too. And when I'm inside, it's okay. But sometimes when I go out into the driveway, bad things can happen. That's interesting.
Yeah. Maybe we got to go deeper on that too, because mine is there's a thing in the basement generally.
Weird. But there wasn't.
No, there was wonderful place.
Yeah, there was no creepy feeling in your grandmother's house. I remember.
It was great. And I think that's why, because my brain is want to see something extra scary? Yeah. Let's taint the holy place.
Yeah. Oh, man.
But we got a lot of astrological stuff.
Yeah.
So the dream portion of the podcast, we're going to have to spin off and do interpretive dreaming podcast because Ash has to tell you all about Scorpios, right?
Sagittarius season.
I got close.
You did. We're leaving Scorpio season behind this week. So
I'm sorry.
That's okay. The Sagittarians are just going to come for you. It's fine.
My friend Teresa's going to kill me.
Yeah, you know, they're the archers. They can get you from afar.
Oh, my God.
They're bow and arrow.
What's going on? Because that's December. Right?
Yeah, well, it's November 21st we're entering, but that will bring us through to the
chunk of
the equinox.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the solstice. So, okay, we're going to talk about all the transits that are happening this week first, and then we're going to talk about Sagittarians. So, okay, Monday the 18th of November, we have Mercury opposing Jupiter at 3:55 a.m., and then the sun is trining Neptune at 9:07 p.m. Mercury opposite Jupiter could make us more talkative. Our minds could be moving really quickly. We're very chatty.
Jupiter expands and Mercury has domination over communication for people who are listening.
Oh my gosh, you should be teaching
this.
Oh
my gosh, you're doing well, Ash.
Yeah.
I'm retaining.
So because it's an opposition though, it's like really big. It's really intense. And so it could be scatterbrain, but like very chatty.
Shit.
Sun trine Neptune is increasing our imagination this day. It's helping us to be more intuitive and more accepting of other people's differences.
This is like a silver bullet to me. I'm going to fall for this on this day.
What?
I'm going to chatty, unfocused, in dreaming.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's
you have
kryptonite.
to lock me in the aquarium room.
Oh my gosh. It's like, yeah, it's like the werewolf. Like you just turn into a daydreamy like blob.
Just a daydreaming yak back. So we're going to lock me away on this day.
All right. Tuesday the 19th, Mercury is trining Chiron. We haven't talked about Chiron in a couple weeks.
He's been taking a break.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of work this year.
Mercury trining Chiron at 6:29 a.m. And then we've got a big transit, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute, but let's touch on Mercury and Chiron. So this is really great for helping us to solve problems through communication.
Love it.
Yeah, so we're working through fears and insecurities, but it's a positive transit, so it's allowing us to make some headway in those areas of our lives. Later on in the day, Pluto is entering Aquarius at 3:30 p.m. So earlier this year, Pluto was in Capricorn.
Yes.
It made it into Aquarius for a couple months, and then it retrograded back into Capricorn. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And now it is back in Aquarius for good.
This is the moment.
This is the moment.
This is the age of Aquarius.
Well, sort of, yeah. It's a big deal because Pluto is going to be in Aquarius until 2043.
So that's a long time.
And it's never going to be in Capricorn again for our lifetime.
That's crazy.
That's over.
So what is Pluto, god of the underworld, doing to Capricorn?
You mean Aquarius?
Aquarius, sorry. I'm really trying. Sorry.
You're doing great. So Pluto in Aquarius is going to, Pluto's a generational planet. So Pluto really impacts like big themes and generational things. So Pluto in Capricorn was really about like structures, institutions, finances. There's just a lot of that kind of like traditional ways of thinking, and also just like getting ahead monetarily. That was like a big kind of like capitalistic push of the last 16 years or so.
You can also kind of look at like what our parents are interested in.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's more of this idea of like traditions, like the older kind of the old guard, so to speak, like kind of passing it on. And Pluto in Aquarius is much more rebellious. It's more about putting power into the hands of the people rather than the institutions.
Let's go Gen Z.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also technology. Aquarius governs technology. So it's really extreme advances. I would say, obviously we are in an age of technology, but from 2024 to 2043, I imagine the amount of technological shifts are going to be significant.
We're going to discover the singularity, and our producer, Nick, is going to download his consciousness into the mainframe.
Okay, I could see that.
Yeah, I can see it too.
I think that would be wonderful for humanity. So Pluto in Aquarius is going to be interesting because anyone who has any fixed planets, so that would be Taurus, Leo.
That's you.
Scorpio and Aquarius, you're going to be hit the hardest by the Pluto and Aquarius transit. So sometime over the next 20 years, your whatever planets you have in those placements will get either squared, conjuncted, or opposed, which means there's going to be a lot of transformation, possible loss, possible shedding of things. Like there's You know, I mean, we can just ask our Capricorn friends who went through it the last 16 years. They probably had a lot of like upheaval and changes in their lives. Now, Pluto does transform. So ultimately, it can be a good thing, but it doesn't always feel that way.
If you need a friendly Aries in your life, let me know.
Well, I mean, your sun would have been squared by Pluto as it moved through Capricorn sometime in the last 16 years. So yeah, you would have gotten it.
Yeah, I feel like I got it.
Yeah. I am terrified because I have 3 planets in Leo that are all about to get opposed at some point. So let's have fun.
I'll let you know. Growth hurts.
Yeah.
Like regardless of whether or not it comes from a planet.
I can't wait. Okay. So Thursday the 21st, the sun is entering Sagittarius at 2:56 p.m. And we're going to talk all about Sagittarius in a minute. And then the sun is sextiling Pluto at 3:49 p.m. on Thursday. So this is also, let's see, sun sextile Pluto is really great for willpower, discipline, and getting us to like feel more courageous and pushing ourselves maybe a little out of our comfort zone, but in a positive way.
Okay.
Friday the 22nd, Venus is sextile Saturn at 6:55 a.m. Eastern Time. We're feeling this all day on Friday the 22nd. And Venus sextile to Saturn is going to be really great for forging connections and commitment with other people, kind of working on group projects. Really great day for that on Friday.
Okay.
And also good for forming long-term plans with friends, partners, and anyone that's like significant in your life. Also good for creative planning too.
Oh, I love that.
Yep.
Good time of year for it too.
For sure. Yeah. Like as we're getting into the darker season, at least up here in the Northern Hemisphere. And then finally, Saturday the 23rd, we have Mars trining the North Node at 1:34 a.m. And this one we feel building throughout the week, and we're going to feel it into the early hours of next week. Mars trine the North Node is really great for helping us to take action and to feel more motivated to move toward goals.
Yeah, I mean, like empowering the dragon's head with the god of war.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense.
Exactly, but it's in a positive way. It's a trine,
Mm-hmm.
so it's helping these planetary configurations.
Would you say that it would be intense though, because of the aspects of both of those celestial points?
It would be, because Mars is, it's intense, it's impulsive, it's aggressive, and all about action, like physical action. And the North Node brings some level of apprehension with any transit that it's involved in, just because it's unexplored terrain. It's all like new stuff. So it could feel a little scary, like you're literally like walking into the wilderness. That's what it feels like. You're going into new terrain for yourself, but it feels like the spirit of adventure is with us.
I know, like you're explaining it, but I'm getting more excited.
I know. Well, that's the thing. It's like mostly positive. It's a trine, so it's helpful. But if you're the type of person who's maybe like wanting to stay closer to your comfort zone, or if you're not in the mood for adventure around that time, it might not be like your favorite. But yeah.
Mars in the North Node are showing up to knock your door in. That's what we're doing.
I love it. Love that energy. All right, let's talk about Sagittarius. So Sagittarius season this year falls between November 21st and December 21st, which is the solstice. So this is carrying us through the end of autumn in the Northern Hemisphere and spring in the Southern.
Enjoy, guys.
Sagittarius is a fire sign. So there's 3 fire signs: Aries, which is Ty; Leo, which is me; and Sagittarius, which is
my friend Teresa.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Teresa. I also want to shout out my friend Michaela. Happy birthday.
You too, Michaela.
Sagittarius is a mutable modality. So there's 3 modalities: cardinal, fixed, and mutable. Mutable always ends a season. Right. So it's always the last in a season. So we're ending autumn or spring, depending on where you are in the world.
And the ones that have the most value are cardinals.
Oh my gosh. Don't listen to Ty. He's just an Aries with a Libra moon. So he's...
I still don't know what that means.
They're both cardinal signs.
That's right.
Yeah. So okay. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is their ruler. Their symbol is the archer or the centaur. And their opposite sign is Gemini. So Geminis are very theoretical. They love to learn. They love to explore like knowledge. They like to explore through the mind, whereas Sagittarians are very action oriented. They like to travel. They like to get out and do things and learn through experience. Mm-hmm. They would get really bored by like having to read a bunch of books like first. Like they want to just go be immersed in the culture and learn it themselves, rather like Gemini is more about like, let me become the best. Let me study really hard so I know exactly what I'm doing. I don't want to appear stupid. Whereas Sagittarius doesn't really care. They're just like, I just want to get into it and do it.
I'm going to experience it.
Yeah, exactly. And so fire signs are all like that to some degree, but Sagittarius is definitely the most like exploratory. And
would you feel the same way as a Leo? Like, do you rather prepare by doing a bunch of reading and instructions, or would you rather dive in and like learn through actual experience?
Well, my moon sign Sagittarius. So yeah, I'm very improvisational, but I need to have at least some preparation because my Leo sun doesn't like looking stupid. Like my Leo sun has to come across looking like at least like I kind of know what I'm talking about, or I'm going to be really embarrassed.
Gotcha.
But my moon is all like, let me wing it. That's fine. You know, but I do like to prepare at least a little bit, but like I like to have like the outline and then go from there.
Oh, I feel you.
Yeah. Like if it's too overly planned, then my Sagittarius moon is going to like scream.
I get that.
I will feel like controlled and
claustrophobic.
Yeah.
I get claustrophobic if we get down to like planning a trip more than like a blueprint.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, okay, on this day, like, you know, like let's say we want to hit up these two spots. That'll either be Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on how I feel, because one's way more like social than the other one. And I don't know how I'm going to feel that day.
I'll do all the research. I'll look at all the stories. I'll do all of that. But I don't want to schedule. You know, like that's the weirdest thing is like I will do the work. I'll put the work in, but please don't hold me to it.
Yeah,
Isn't that weird?
No, that's exactly how I feel. Exactly. Okay.
I told you I want to go on Monday, but if you tell me we're going on Monday, I'll buck. You know, like
exactly. Then I don't want to do it anymore.
Exactly. We'll do it if I'm like I'm like the Kool-Aid man in most situations where I'm explode out.
Oh yeah.
Be like we're doing it or we're not.
Okay. The day of the week that they rule over is Thursday, which is actually the Jupiter day, which like if you're learning any of the romance languages, this is the coolest thing because you can literally know what planet is associated with each day of the week. Like for instance, in Spanish and Italian, like Jovedi, like that is Jupiter, like jovial Jupiter.
Thanks, Duolingo.
Yeah. And like Mercolidi is Monday, Mercury. I mean, I'm sorry, Wednesday, Mercury. Lunadi, the moon, Monday.
Oh, moon rules over Monday?
Moon day, yeah.
Don't they double up though?
They don't because there's the days of the week were named when there were only 7 known bodies.
Oh, sick. And so like we don't assign Pluto to a day of the week?
No, Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus don't have days of the week. It only goes up to Saturn. So you have Sunday is the sun, Monday is the moon, Tuesday is Mars, Martidi, Wednesday is Mercury, Thursday, Jupiter, Friday, Venus, Saturday, Saturn day.
Saturn day, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Just a little fun astrological trivia.
And then the gas giants just get left out, the ice gas giants.
Yeah, they're just, you know, the trans-Saturnian planets.
That's why on Sailor Moon they showed up in like season 2, season 3. He's not looking at me.
Yeah, he's focused.
I know.
Okay, the animals that Sagittarius rules over are horses, which makes sense because they're the centaur. Their gemstones are turquoise, which is the December birthstone, citrine, which is great for high energy, and red jasper, which is a really good stone for travel. Also, mookaite jasper is the protection stone for traveling.
Oh, cool.
So if you're traveling, keeping mookaite jasper in your car, or if you're going on a plane, that can be a really great stone if you're into crystals.
Love it. Their
color is purple. Their number is 9. Their personality traits, they are very optimistic and expansive because they're ruled by Jupiter. They're independent, unconventional, impulsive, and non-committal. They like to leave things open. They like to just kind of explore and see how they feel. So they don't really like to get locked into stuff.
Yeah.
Makes them nervous.
Okay. Plan.
Sagittarius celebrities. So we had a lot of musicians and not many actors or historical figures. And I was kind of thinking about that because Sagittarius can be very artistic and exploratory. So they might be drawn to a career like music, but like acting, you have to kind of follow a script. You have to like do things a certain way.
So maybe like an improv comedian.
Yes.
Might be. Okay.
You might see more of that. I mean, I did kind of come up with a list of actors that maybe aren't that, but obviously there's going to be different people for every sign. And then there's not that many historical figures either. So,
oh, well, I got one for you. That's my job.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So our musicians, we have Taylor Swift, who's maybe one of the most popular Sagittarians out there right now. We got Frank Sinatra, Billie Eilish, Jimi Hendrix, Beethoven, Jim Morrison, Frank Zappa, Britney Spears, Little Richard, and Tina Turner.
Oh, Tina Turner, that clock backwards.
I know. I love Tina Turner. So yeah, like a lot of very active musicians. Like you see a lot of like dancers like Britney Spears, Tina Turner, and just like larger than life personalities, Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, Frank Sinatra. Like there's just a lot of like their vibe is very high. You know what I mean? Like there's just a lot of presence.
Exactly know what I mean. Mm-hmm.
None of these people are fading into the background. Like even Beethoven, I feel like he was deaf and he's still making music, like he's just like, no, I'm going to do this. I don't care.
Yeah. How do you do that?
He literally listened to the vibration of the piano. Like he would hit the key and he would know the vibration based on like his body.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even understand how that would work, but okay. So for actors, we have Bruce Lee. That's like a martial artist.
Yeah.
They're very physical. Scarlett Johansson, Ben Stiller, Jamie Foxx, Lucy Liu, and Jamie Lee Curtis.
I love Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, she's awesome.
I would have thought that she was born on Halloween because that's how my brain works. But that's not how reality
She's a
works.
life outside that franchise, but
she seems to love it though. She's really leaning into the Halloween franchise recently.
And there's going to be a new Freaky Friday movie with her.
Oh my God.
I know.
God bless Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, wonderful. Historical figures / writers, this is just kind of like everyone else that doesn't fit in the other categories. We have Winston Churchill, Mark Twain, Jane Austen, Emily Dickinson, so a couple like very notable female writers, and Larry Bird, who's one of the most famous Celtics players. So there's a lot of athletes actually that are Sagittarians, which makes sense. Like a lot of fire signs tend to be athletic.
Yeah. It's with Sagittarius too, you got to think on your feet and improvise like for the entire game.
Yeah, exactly. Right? There's a lot of like quick decision making and acting and a lot of travel too. Sagittarians love to travel.
That's really true.
So you might see a lot of musicians because musicians have to tour. They have to travel.
But if you're Larry Bird, you can't travel in basketball.
Oh my God.
That's the beginning and the end of our sports talk here on the podcast. I've exhausted my knowledge.
Oh man, I love basketball and I actually know like all the astrology for the Celtics players and stuff.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so that's a fun thing.
That should be a mini-sode.
I know.
Wouldn't that be fun?
I could predict games based on the astrology of the players and the night.
Oh my God.
To be like, okay, there's a lot of fire signs on this team and the moon's in Aries tonight, so I think they're going to do really well.
There's our spinoff. Yeah. We launch that podcast, we go to Vegas, we get the bookies up on it.
Oh my God. There's a lot of pressure for me.
It is. as a Leo you don't want.
No. Yeah, I mean, as a Leo, I do want to do well and to show off my skills, but as a Sagittarius moon, that's a lot of pressure to do things at the time that's requested of me.
That's right.
Oh man. Okay. That's what I got for you. That was a lot.
You did great work though, Ash.
Thank you.
Take your moment.
I'm going to have some coffee.
So while you take a sip of coffee, I'm going to teach you about the Enlightenment era.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a big topic, right?
Okay.
So what do you kind of know already? Because I'll jump around if you have some stuff that you know about the Great Enlightenment.
Can you give me the dates of the Great Enlightenment first?
Kind of. I can give you a Neptunian approximation of the dates.
Okay.
Because it runs from around 1685 to around 1815.
Oh, that's a lot longer than I would have thought.
Yeah, it's not like a 3-year period where everyone was kicking ass.
Yeah, so it's post-Renaissance and it's like
pre-industrial.
Yeah, so I think that was probably around the time like Renaissance, there was a lot of like artistic and spiritual stuff happening, whereas the Great Enlightenment was more like science-based and technology and things like that.
Nailed it.
Okay.
Yep. So the High Enlightenment would have been what you think of what was happening in the mid 1700s.
Yes.
So like what you're taught in history books, that's considered the High Enlightenment. It's basically like people breaking bonds of this is the way we do things because, you know, people are starting to ask questions.
Yep.
And I think that it's also known as the Age of Reason because those questions that are being asked are starting to lock into society. People starting to allow those questions to be pondered, and that's hard to say because there was a lot of you have to think my way or you'll get the stake,
right.
type of thing.
Yeah, this was a big deal.
So it started in Europe where culture radically reoriented the way that they thought about philosophy and through philosophy, then politics and science. So this period was full of heavy questioning of authority and stances that had been, made doctrine. So it was really impactful to the world because these new ideas are being credited with future events that we learned about in history, like for previous podcast. The Enlightenment led to the French Revolution. It also led to the American Revolution because Enlightenment ideas crossed the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
So during this period, people are writing more than they ever had before. They're creating essays. They're doing doctrines. People are reading them too and spreading these ideas because pamphlets and parties to talk about ideas. Like people are really engaging in new thoughts here. So it was primarily the style of discourse that seems to have been adopted are that ability to accept and chew on new ideas instead of pushing them away. So there's no singular moment for like the discovery. That's why I think that it's that Neptunian kind of like hazy, like 120 years or so. Because the key to the Enlightenment was becoming open-minded and in being interested in high-thinking individuals, also being able to question things openly without fear of retribution.
Right. Yeah, there was a lot of like witch hunts happening before that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now that's starting to wane because the things the witches were correct about are now becoming popular ideas.
Ugh, those poor early witches.
So some key contributors that I'm just going to call out really quickly are John Locke, who we know about his work is all about life, liberty, and property and the ideas associated around that.
Not just a character on Lost.
That's right. He was one of the best characters.
He was, wasn't he?
So John Locke believed that people within a society have a social contract where a government authority only has such authority if given consent by the governed. That was a huge idea because that was like one of the first of its kind, and that lit up other ideas based on John Locke's pronunciation.
Yeah.
So where Locke provided cultural ideas like that, then we have people like Isaac Newton, who was part of this time period as well, who pushed just as hard as Locke did on cultural philosophy. He pushed on science, specifically science around our world and the universe beyond. And that's how it relates to the laws of motion and gravity, which he coined. He's also credited with developing the scientific method. Like we still use that.
Like that's huge.
It's wild like that these things came out around then. The church hated him. Like literally like a lot of these people, the church is not down with it.
Yeah.
So like I said, that the idea kind of like crossed the Atlantic. Over here in the United States, our versions of Isaac Newton and John Locke include Ben Franklin and Thomas Jefferson.
Yes.
So pretty much everywhere, the state begins to separate from the church, which is key for the progress that was being made to also be retained and not oppressed during these times. Because we could have backslid quite a bit, and like we are in the trepidatious time right now where we don't want to do that either,
Right.
Like we don't want to backslide back into these arcane ideas.
Pluto's about to move into Aquarius. Like we can't backslide, but unfortunately, it's not going there till the end of November. Well,
we got to hold on. We got to hold on to hope because the Age of Enlightenment has to be our new Age of Aquarius here. And so it was basically a 130-year stretch where you're doing that hard work to feel uncomfortable so that you can grow as a species and as a culture. So someone that did that very, very well and is incredibly prolific to the time period, who I'm obsessed with, is your astral birth chart of the week this week.
Okay.
So we have November 21st, 1694 Paris, France. And obviously, I don't have a time for you.
Yeah, and I had to use a different program than I usually use because mine only goes up to 1800. So I was.
We went back.
Yeah, we went back. So
when I hit the like Elizabeth Bathory vampire one, we'll have to, I'll give you a heads up that we're going back to the year 8.
Please know people born before the year 1 because I literally have no way to draw up their birth chart. So
I'm gonna grab the abacus out.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna have to start like doing like hand calculations if you want to do like Cleopatra or somebody. Which would be cool. So
for sure,
just give me a little extra time to prepare.
I'll give you at least 3 days.
Gotta call out of work. Okay, so this person is a Scorpio. They were born on the last day of Scorpio season, and they have a Capricorn moon. And we're not gonna look at their rising sign because
we don't know.
We don't know. So because they were born on the last day of Scorpio season, this is pretty intense because that's that anaretic degree, the 29th degree of any sign is going to be that much more intense and powerful. So this person has like Scorpio to the nth. Like there's just like way more of that scorpionic drive to understand things and to explore what's hidden.
Fascinating, because just saying that, I see it already.
Okay,
cool.
It's
like the anaretic couldn't be another way of saying like the finale of Scorpio season.
Yes, it's like the culmination of everything. Like, so whereas the first degree, 0 degrees of a sign, you're just kind of like getting into the waters of that. You're like, it's more like of a pure energy of the sign, but this is kind of like, it's loaded, it's locked and loaded. There's a lot of energy kind of driven into it.
That just unlocked a lot from my brain.
Okay.
We can do that. That's a Patreon episode. Is
all right.
Ty's brain unlocks.
Yeah. The 29th degree is super fascinating. I'm always like interested. A lot of people have it. It's not that uncommon to have planets in that, but it's just always interesting to see. So they have a Mercury and Mars conjunction. It's about 3 degrees out. So it's not like the tightest conjunction. Like they're near each other, but they're not like right on top of each other in the sky.
Okay.
So Mercury and Mars are in Sagittarius, which would give this person a very like open-minded and exploratory approach, but also a lot of passion because Mercury and Mars are conjunct. So they're not content to just think about things. They need to take action as well. Mm-hmm. But it's opposing Uranus, which means that there's like a rebellious quality to it. Or there's this quality of like kind of needing to go against the grain.
Remember this when I tell you that someone wanted this person to be a lawyer and what they did.
Okay, like, yeah, because they don't want to be boxed in.
Correct.
I wouldn't advise this person. Like if I was doing this person's birth chart, if they came to me, I'd be like, you cannot be boxed in your choices in life. You need to be free to think and free to move. Mm-hmm. They kind of have a harsh birth chart. There's only one super positive aspect in it, which is the moon sextile to Neptune, which would make them a dreamer, somebody who's very idealistic and very like, I'm seeing a lot of like very open-minded thinking. Like this person's really non-judgmental, I would imagine, just by looking at their chart. But it seems like there was a lot fighting them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And their Venus is.
But I think they loved it too.
Well,
do you see like they maybe love to be challenged type of thing?
I mean, Mars opposite Uranus, like you're gonna be like fierce, like you're not afraid of conflict.
Yes, not at all.
Not at all. Like you would be okay with it. So I think that this person probably didn't know any other way. They're just like, nah, whatever. I'm gonna deal with it as it comes to me.
Think of like if Billie Eilish was a philosopher, like that type of vibe.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't care. Like I'm gonna push the envelope and do my thing.
Yep.
Yeah. So then they have an unaspected Venus in Scorpio that's kind of floating by itself in that sector. And yeah, I don't know if we know much about their relationships. This could be kind of like, I don't know, maybe they had a harder time connecting, or maybe they were so involved in their ideas and their thoughts that it wasn't like a priority in life.
I think that's kind of it, that they were who they were and they were very confident in that. And they were like, you can come with me if you want.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So that's what I have for you.
Well, let's dive in to the life and ideas of Voltaire.
Wow.
He's such a fascinating person.
Okay.
So I actually got jazzed while I was like researching him because, I knew who he was through books and stuff like that, but like you don't spend your Saturday afternoon like researching the works of Voltaire, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, not usually, but that's what we're doing today.
Yeah, we are. Have you watched The Great? It's like on Hulu. It's like Catherine the Great. It's a comedy kind of somewhat occasionally true show or whatever. very hesitant on that.
Yep.
But he's a character there. And the person who plays Voltaire is the most laissez-faire. It's just it's such a good encapsulation of everything that you just talked about.
Okay.
I'm walking to the beat of my own drum and I have very rich ideas.
Yeah, exactly. This person's very confident in their ideas.
So
looking at the chart.
In that confidence, he contributed to the Great Enlightenment with over 20,000 letters that he wrote, and 2,000 books that are credited to his name.
2,000 books?
He just wrote. Like, he just knew what he had to say, and he just wrote continually.
Dude, yeah, Mars conjunct Mercury. Like, your ideas are... You're powered by ideas.
He's got something to say. And this man was powered by ideas like dark oxygen is powered by polymetallic nodules at the bottom of the... Oh
my God, nice callback. Listen to last week's episode if you haven't.
So then I go back to I bet a bunch of people don't know who Voltaire is, right?
Yeah, let's start at the beginning.
So Voltaire's philosophical works were crucial to the Enlightenment, and it was helped by the populace because they were developing new ways of thinking through his satirical writing, like adding humor to it and kind of spinning it, let people touch it, if that makes sense, Yeah,
it was more accessible to the average person.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because the norms are Christianity. There's also norms around slavery, and he was against both of those.
Wow, ahead of his time.
He was vehemently advocated for the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the separation of church and state.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is centuries, before we have that.
Yeah.
So Voltaire was actually his pen name. And he needed that because church didn't like him, state didn't like him, because he was trying to separate both of those. It's not definite what his name means, because with translation it could have meant a couple different things, and he never once wanted to come out and state why he chose the name. But one translation is determined little thing. And I thought that was important based on what you just said for his astrology reading.
Was he a small man?
No, I don't think so. I think he's probably like a big personality, but he's
just like one person. So he is like a little thing in comparison to the like larger institutions.
So his real name was Francois Marie Arouet or Arouet or whatever. Okay. It's French. I'm butchering that. But after he was imprisoned in the Bastille for using that name for her writing, he decided maybe I should probably have a pen name instead. So he was born into the lowest rung of that still qualified as French nobility.
Okay.
So he wasn't impoverished by any means, but he also wasn't high society to start out.
Yeah.
He was the youngest of 5 children, and his family first named him Zozo, which I thought was really interesting because, like, not Zoso like Jimmy Page or whatever.
Okay, that's what I thought you were saying, and I was just like,
I know, I saw you saying me, but I'd never seen that before either. Like
Zozo, like Zio.
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't know why.
Okay.
I couldn't find it anywhere, but I'm wondering if maybe that has connections somewhere else in popular culture.
Huh.
Key element of his life was that his mother passed away when he was 7 years old, and he ended up becoming really close with his grandfather because of it. His grandfather was a hugely progressive thinker of the time, and so that kind of let Voltaire, gave him permission, right?
Right.
So his father had him educated by Jesuits for a period of 7 years, where he became fluent in Italian, Spanish, and English. And however, his father wanted him to learn all these things because he was slowly training him to become a successful and affluent lawyer. But Voltaire wanted to be a writer. So he pretended to work as a legal assistant in Paris, but instead studied poetry.
Oh my gosh.
And just told his dad, yeah, it's going great. Like literally.
Wow, okay.
So his father found out and he was furious. So he sends him to Normandy to study law there instead, where he just keeps writing instead. Like, this guy was non-stoppable.
I mean, yeah, you can't tell this guy what to do.
So his father was really determined, though, and apparently got him a job as a secretary to a French ambassador. However, I love this guy. This just gave him access to the elite.
Yeah.
Like now he's learning all these people's stories, of whom he begins to write about and criticize under his pen name. So some royalty loved him for his work in his plays, which mirrored society back to them, while others really disliked the way that of what he was presenting as an argument to philosophy of the time and arguing for religious tolerance and freedom of thought. So his life is incredibly interesting, but I'm going to just, for the sake of time, give you some fast facts about him, which I think are funny, or interesting, at least I should say. But he became rich and affluent in society, which I think we are led to believe that it's because of the amount of works that he published.
Right.
It's actually because this guy found a flaw in the French lottery system and exploited it to the point where he became incredibly wealthy before they discovered that he was just jamming up the system.
Wow.
So he got a lot of his money from that.
That's hilarious.
His most famous works were banned, and when they would become banned, he would switch up his pen name, and he would publish those works in different countries and then have them imported.
Okay.
And this is part of why he was unofficially exiled to Switzerland later in life, because they just couldn't control Voltaire.
Yeah.
He's credited with popularizing Isaac Newton's ideas after receiving a copy of Newton's Principia Mathematica. And Voltaire coined the story of the apple falling from the tree and hitting Newton on the head, and where he said, "Eureka, I've discovered gravity." Newton did discover that, and I would say Voltaire marketed it.
Wow.
Yeah, like
okay.
none of that happened. Like he just...
That's such a common story and trope.
Voltaire took it and was like, the masses will understand it this way.
Yep.
And so that's Voltaire's.
That's amazing.
He also repaired his standing with the French court after, kind of spilling their drama or whatnot by becoming a spy. But
what a life.
He sucked. And the thing that I read said basically he accepted it so that he would gain favor with the French nobility again. And then, like becoming the lawyer, he kind of just did what he wanted. He didn't care about being a spy. It just got him new places that he could see,
Wow. Okay. I love it.
And so he basically caused controversy right through to his death. He moved back to Paris in 1778 after being away for 28 years because he had written a play. And even though he was semi-exiled, he really wanted to see how it went. So he came back.
That's hilarious.
So during his play, he fell ill. And apparently the Catholic Church visited him on his deathbed repeatedly, trying to get him to retract some of his opinions and his statements throughout life and, take on Catholicism once again. And here's another famous phrase that Voltaire penned is, "Go away and let me die in peace."
Oh my God.
Isn't that great?
Wow.
So
this guy.
He passed away on May 30th, 1778, and apparently his family arranged a secret
83
Christian burial. Yeah, he did great.
That's amazing for back then.
Also great math. Like that was quick. Or if you're looking at it, either way, I'm going to give you credit for the math.
Oh, I did the math. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
You looked away like you didn't.
No. I was just, astrologers do a lot of
I
math.
was proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Voltaire changed societal norms at every turn and helped define the Enlightenment era in its entirety. His magnum opus, if you're interested, is called the Candide, in which he criticizes thinkers and philosophies of his time and forced growth to new ideas. And that's Voltaire.
Awesome. That Mercury opposite Uranus, that's rebellious thinking right there.
He was just, imagine being friends with this guy.
Yeah.
He's just a genius walking around not giving an F. You know,
that's so cool. He seemed like he was very ahead of his time.
Yeah, for sure. And I think he forced other people to be so as well.
Yeah, this is really cool. I didn't know much about him. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening. And I loved hearing his planets align and basically set this guy up to just rock the world. You know?
Right? Oh, crazy. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. I hope you have a beautiful week ahead, and we will be back next week with more stars, more strange stories.
And more Chiron in the mix next week?
Let me take a look. Mercury's going retrograde next week. That's one of the big things for sure. Yeah, you will have, there's one Chiron here.
I can't wait for next week.
All right.
Thank you, Ash.
All right. Thank you, Ty. And thank you for listening.
Unclouded Eyes stars Ashley Brooks and Ty Gowan. It's produced by Nick Nordforce. Music is by Ashley Jane Cecilia and Jay Karen, and our community manager is Aaron Cross. Art is by Dawn Aquarius, and we thank her so much. We're presented by Haunt Me, which you can find on YouTube at Haunt Me Official. Follow The Unclouded Eye on Instagram and TikTok at Unclouded Eye and Patreon at Unclouded_Eye. Shout out to Jen Barstow and Mara Moon this week for our Patreon subscribers who are helping make this podcast happen.